7 hidden signs she is waiting for you to make a move. The signals most men misread. There's a strange paradox in modern dating. Many men believe that if a woman is interested, she will make it obvious. Clear flirting, direct compliments, open invitations. But attraction rarely works that way. In reality, women communicate interest in ways that are subtle, indirect, and psychological. And if you do not understand those signals, you will miss opportunities that were right in front of you. Not because she wasn't interested, but because she was waiting for you to take the lead. And this misunderstanding destroys more potential relationships than rejection ever could, because what many men interpret as mixed signals is often simply unspoken attraction. Today we are going to break down 7 hidden signs that she is waiting for you to make a move. Signals most men overlook. Signals rooted in psychology, social dynamics, and human behavior. Once you see them, you will start noticing them everywhere. Let's begin. Sign 1. She holds eye contact slightly longer than normal. Eye contact is one of the most powerful signals of attraction. But it is also one of the most misunderstood. Many men assume that if a woman looks away quickly, she is uninterested. But psychology shows the opposite can often be true. When someone feels attracted to another person, eye contact becomes emotionally intense, and that intensity creates nervous energy. So the typical pattern looks like this. She looks at you. You notice. She holds the gaze for a brief moment longer than expected, and then she looks away. Not because she dislikes you, but because holding that connection too long feels vulnerable. This small moment reveals something important. She noticed you first. Her brain registered your presence, and for a brief second, curiosity replaced caution. This is the moment most men ruin. They immediately look away, or they break the tension by checking their phone, or they assume they imagined it. But confident men do something different. They remain calm. They hold their composure. They allow the moment to exist without panic, and that quiet confidence changes the entire emotional dynamic. Because attraction often begins with a single moment of awareness, and eye contact is where awareness begins. Sign 2. She appears in your space more than once. Another signal that many men completely miss is intentional proximity. You notice her once, then later, you notice her again. Maybe she walks near you. Maybe she sits close by. Maybe she joins a conversation where you are standing. At first, this seems like coincidence, but humans are not as random as we think. Psychological research shows that people tend to move closer to individuals they feel curious about. Not always consciously, often instinctively. It is called the proximity effect. We naturally position ourselves near people who capture our attention. But here is where men misunderstand the signal. They assume proximity must mean direct interaction. They wait for her to start a conversation. But attraction often moves in stages. First comes awareness, then proximity, then opportunity. If she repeatedly appears in your environment, she may be creating chances for interaction without forcing the situation. In social psychology, this is known as low-risk signaling. It allows her to express interest without risking rejection, and it allows you to step forward without pressure. But if you never recognize the opportunity, the moment passes, and she eventually assumes you are not interested. Sin 3. She nervously adjusts her appearance around you. This signal happens so quickly that most men overlook it completely. You walk into the room, and suddenly, she adjusts something. Her hair, her necklace, her posture. Maybe she fixes her shirt, or straightens how she's sitting. These small movements are often unconscious, but they reveal a fascinating psychological response. When someone we are attracted to enters our environment, our brain becomes suddenly aware of how we appear. This awareness triggers self-presentation behavior, a natural instinct to look our best in the presence of someone who matters. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, but the timing is what matters. If these adjustments happen right after you appear, your presence triggered a self, and that reaction is rarely random, because attraction often reveals itself through the body before it appears in words. Humans are experts at hiding emotions verbally, but the body almost always tells the truth, and small grooming behaviors are one of the oldest signals of interest in human interaction. The hidden pattern behind these signals. At this point, you may notice something interesting. None of these signs involve direct flirting, no obvious compliments, no dramatic gestures. That is because attraction often operates through plausible deniability, subtle behaviors that communicate interest. without forcing vulnerability. Because the moment someone becomes too obvious, they risk embarrassment. They risk rejection. So instead, humans communicate attraction through eye contact, proximity, body language, small behavioral shifts. And these signals create something important. Opportunity, not certainty. Opportunity. Attraction is not about waiting for perfect proof. It is about recognizing when interest might exist and having the confidence to explore it. But the signals become even more obvious when we look at the next behaviors. And this is where things start getting interesting, because the next signs reveal something deeper, not just awareness, but emotional investment. And most men completely overlook them. When attraction becomes emotional investment, by now, you may notice something important. The first signals we talked about were subtle. Eye contact, proximity, small body language shifts. These signals show awareness. But the next signs show something deeper. They show emotional engagement. And this is where attraction becomes harder to ignore. Because once someone begins investing emotional attention, their behavior becomes much more revealing. Yet ironically, this is exactly the stage where many men hesitate the most, because the signals are still indirect, still quiet, still easy to misinterpret. But when you understand the psychology behind them, they become impossible to miss. Let's continue. Sign 4. She teases you or playfully challenges you. Many men misunderstand teasing. They assume that if a woman challenges them or jokes at their expense, she must be annoyed. But playful teasing is one of the most common expressions of attraction, because teasing creates something powerful. Emotional tension. And tension is the foundation of flirtation. When someone feels drawn to another person, they often try to break the formality of the interaction. Instead of polite conversation, they introduce playfulness. Maybe she makes a joke about something you said. Maybe she challenges your opinion. Maybe she says something like, "Are you always this confident?" Or, "You seem trouble." These are not insults. They are invitations. Playful challenges designed to create chemistry. Psychologically, teasing accomplishes two things. First, it creates emotional engagement. Instead of a neutral conversation, you now have a dynamic interaction. Second, it tests your confidence. She wants to see how you respond. Do you become defensive? Do you shrink? Or do you play along with calm confidence? Because attraction often grows when two people share a playful emotional rhythm, and teasing is often the first step toward that rhythm. Sin 5. She laughs more around you than necessary. Laughter is one of the strongest social bonding behaviors humans have. But when attraction is involved, laughter changes. It becomes more frequent, more energetic, and sometimes completely unnecessary. You might say something only mildly funny, yet she laughs like it was the best joke she heard all day. At first, this seems like politeness. But the brain does something interesting when attraction appears. It amplifies emotional reactions, because when someone likes you, your presence activates positive emotions, and laughter becomes a natural expression of that feeling. But there is another deeper psychological mechanism happening. Laughter also signals comfort and openness. When someone feels safe and engaged, their guard drops, and laughter becomes easier, freer, less controlled. This is why you may notice something subtle. Her laughter with you feels different from her laughter with others. More relaxed, more genuine, and sometimes accompanied by something else. Eye contact, a quick glance, or a brief moment where the conversation slows down afterward. That pause after laughter often contains hidden tension. A quiet moment where both people feel the connection, but neither one speaks it out loud. This is where attraction begins shifting from curiosity into something more powerful. Anticipation, the moment where most men hesitate. Now here's the moment where many men freeze. Because once emotional engagement appears, the dynamic changes. The interaction is no longer neutral. Something is happening. And that realization can make people nervous. So instead of leaning into the moment, many men retreat. They become overly polite, overly cautious. They keep everything friendly, safe, predictable. But attraction rarely survives in safe territory. It grows through uncertainty and emotional tension. And when that tension appears, someone has to move the interaction forward. Not aggressively, not forcefully, but with calm confidence. Because attraction needs direction. Without direction, even the strongest chemistry eventually fades. But the final signs reveal something even more powerful. Not just engagement, not just curiosity, but invitation. And this is where the signals become the clearest. Yet most men still miss them completely. The invitations most men ignore. By now, the pattern should be becoming clear. Attraction rarely appears all at once. It builds gradually. First awareness, then curiosity, then emotional engagement, and finally, invitation. But these invitations are rarely spoken directly. They appear through behavior, subtle actions that create an opening, a moment where something could happen. And this is the point where everything depends on one thing, whether you recognize the signal or miss it completely. Let's look at the final signs. Sign 6. She keeps the interaction going instead of ending it. When someone is uninterested, conversations end quickly. Short replies, polite smiles, then distance. But when attraction exists, the opposite happens. She keeps the interaction alive. You say something simple, she responds. Then instead of letting the conversation end, she adds something else. Another question, another comment, another reason to continue. This behavior is subtle but extremely meaningful, because attention is one of the most valuable things humans give, and people rarely invest attention where they feel nothing. Maybe she asks about your hobbies. Maybe she asks how you ended up doing what you do. Maybe she continues a topic long after it could have naturally ended. These are continuation signals, small invitations to stay engaged. Psychologists often measure attraction through something called interaction persistence. The longer someone willingly maintains engagement, the stronger the underlying interest. But many men make a critical mistake here. They assume conversation alone is the goal, so they stay stuck in endless talking. Friendly, safe, predictable, and eventually the interaction fades. Because attraction does not grow through endless conversation. It grows through movement, direction, escalation. Conversation is the door, but someone still has to walk through it. Sign 7. She creates moments where something could happen. This final sign is the most important, because it represents a shift from passive signals to active opportunity. You may notice moments like this. The conversation slows down. The environment becomes quieter. She stays nearby, even though she could leave. She lingers. Maybe there is a pause, eye contact, a moment where neither of you speak. Many men misinterpret this silence. They think it means awkwardness, but often it means something very different. Tension, psychological tension, is the space between interest and action. It is the moment where attraction becomes real, because in that quiet pause, both people feel the possibility of something happening, but only one person needs to move first. This is where many opportunities disappear, not because attraction was absent, but because hesitation replaced action, and hesitation slowly dissolves the moment. Psychologically, humans need closure. If tension is created but never resolved, the brain eventually withdraws from the situation, not out of rejection, but out of self-protection. Which is why confidence becomes so important. Confidence is not perfection. It is simply the willingness to move forward despite uncertainty. Why women rarely make the first move? Now there's something deeper happening here. Something most men misunderstand. Many ask the same question. If she is interested, why doesn't she just make the first move? The answer is psychological. Human attraction evolved around polarity. One person signals, the other person responds. One person opens the door, the other steps through it. These roles are not about dominance. They are about emotional rhythm. And when that rhythm works, attraction flows naturally. But when both people hesitate, nothing happens. Two people feel something and walk away from each other, never realizing what almost happened. The real reason most men miss these signals, the biggest obstacle, is not lack of opportunity. It is fear of misreading the situation. Modern culture trains men to wait for certainty, clear signals, obvious invitations. But attraction rarely provides certainty. It offers possibility. The men who succeed socially are not the ones who wait for perfect proof. They are the ones who recognize opportunity and move forward calmly, not aggressively, not desperately, simply with presence, with clarity, with quiet confidence. Because attraction rarely requires grand gestures. Often it only requires one simple moment of courage. Here is the truth many people never realize. Attraction is happening around you more often than you think, in quick glances, in small smiles, in subtle moments of proximity, in laughter, that lasts just a little longer. But these moments disappear quickly. They're fragile, temporary, and they only become meaningful when someone recognizes them. So, the next time you notice these signals, do not overanalyze them. Do not wait for absolute certainty. Simply stay present, stay calm, and allow the moment to unfold. Because many of the connections people spend years searching for begin with nothing more than a quiet signal that most men never see.